Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 18 of season 1 of Avengers Assemble called Savages. Now this is the first new episode for the show in a long time, and I'm sorry it's taken me a little while to get this review up. When this episode originally aired, I was actually in the process of moving, and it's taken me a little while to get settled at my new home back. But anyway, overall, I didn't feel this was a terribly strong episode. I mean, the whole thing of making bets and going camping and then leaving the two really irresponsible people at home who wreak havoc. I mean, this is basically they took the Avengers and put them in a sitcom, and then they threw in some rock people and super and Justin Hammer, and called it Avengers. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. Now, again, I have to remind everybody that yes, show is airing on Disney XD. It's obviously not aimed at the older fans. It's obviously, this is one for the kids, and that's all well and good. But even when I was a kid watching cartoons sometime, I would really feel like the show was talking down to me. It's like, look, I know I'm a kid, but I'm not stupid. You can do something a little bit better than this for me. And I have a feeling that, there will be kids at home watching this kind of feeling the same way. And, that's really the only point that the main point of this episode is that it just feels like they took all the cliches from some sitcom, and not even a good episode of a sitcom, and just threw the Avengers into it. And while you can certainly do humor with the Avengers, I mean, they've done in both shows and the movies and in the comics, they've done some really, really funny stuff with the Avengers, especially this elements where the Avengers are just kind of ragging on each other in a good-natured way. And that's all. That's cool. That's fine. That is part of what makes Avengers fun. But here, this just feels like some crummy episode of a sitcom that gets canceled. Never. It's a dumb sitcom. Okay, let's just leave it at that. And man, don't even get me started on the whole thing about how Hulk and Thor are just basically turned into like a bunch of brain dead 10-year-olds. I mean, seriously. Ugh. I mean, really, it just offends me on such an enormous level. I'm really disappointed with the guys from Man of Action on this one because they're all experienced Marvel writers who can do better than this. But anyway, let's talk about some of the more upsides of this episode. Now, on the upside, they do have some cool things, like, I mean, dinosaurs with lasers strapped to them, Iron Man going out and building armor made out of stone. I mean, that stuff is all crazy, but it's crazy in a cool way. It's one of those things that you have to say, yes, I know this is ridiculous, but, this is a superhero story, so hey, why not? And it's certainly as if they've never done more ridiculous things than this in comics. One thing that leaps to mind is over at DC, they did a story about called J.L. Ape that was all about the Justice League getting turned into superpowered apes. And I think they even did Marvel Apes, and then, well, let's just say that they've done their share of very silly things at both DC and Marvel. Let me see. Oh yeah, and of course the Avengers I don't think will ever live down the time that their female members formed the Lady Liberators, because it was the 70s and that's just kind of what happened in comic books in the 70s. But anyway, moving on. I did like the fact that they actually did take the time for Tony to offer up an explanation of how in the name of God he was able to have armor that was made out of stone. Now, I don't think the actual science would really hold up there, but I at least like that they offered an explanation for how Tony was able to walk while covered in head to toe in stone. Actually, you look kind of like a Warforged from the Eberron Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting, if you're a gamer. Now, I also like that this episode, it was a smart choice to have something tying in with the Cabal in this episode, because it's been a long time since we had an episode. The Cabal are obviously the big bads this time around, so having Red Skull, I'm sorry, Iron Skull pop up again was a good way to help refresh everybody's memory about what's going on. And Justin Hammer, well, he's not really a major threat. He's an annoyance. If the Avengers had really been there with their normal gear and under normal circumstances, they'd have taken him out in 5 minutes. And I did like that point where he was doing the goofy little dance. I mean, that's just, it's sort of dancing on the, if you'll pardon the expression, dancing on the line of cool and trying too hard. And where exactly it falls is going to be a bit of a matter of opinion. But I did think that was a nice little touch to sort of show, like, oh, the villain's being all cocky and stuff. And I don't recognize the rock people from this episode, but my knowledge of the Savage Land isn't the greatest. Now, in the comics, the Avengers have been to the Savage Land before, but for the most part, the Savage Land is kind of an X-Men thing. They go there, they usually end up running into Sauron, who is actually who the Avengers fought that one story I read where they went to the Savage Land. Then they have Magneto's mutates who are running around, and then Kazar and Zabu and Shauna the She-Devil will always show up. But anyway. So, overall, not a bad episode, but not a terribly good episode either. It's ultimately a rather weak episode, I guess, that has a few good elements, but not enough to ultimately really redeem it. But anyway, folks, that's all I have for you this time around. So until next time, you can of course follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. And until next time, take care and have a good one.